Hello and welcome to Let's Code. Today we're going to be writing in TypeScript and we're going to be learning how to write a function that tells us if a string is a palindrome or not. Let's get started. So, what is a palindrome? A palindrome is a word, number or phrase where the sequence of characters are exactly the same forwards as they are backwards. So this could be, for example, the word dad. If you reverse it, then DAD backwards is DAD. And so what will our code do? So as a user, I want to know if a string is a palindrome so that I can tell if a string is a palindrome. Fairly straightforward. So our scenario is that it will return true or false if a string is a palindrome. So given I input the string, when I execute the isPalindrome function, then the result will be true or false. So as you can see here, we've got a few examples. So dad would return true, race car would return true, etc. And we've got some false examples here, so like the word boat, the word Jake would return false, because if you reverse these, then they don't equal the same as they do forwards. And you can see here we've got some valid examples and invalid examples. But realistically, what is it that we're going to be coding today? So there's a brief description here which explains exactly what the code will do step by step. I'm going to walk you through this before we actually start to code so you can have an understanding before we start coding. So first we need to choose a string to check if it's a palindrome or not. For this example, I'm going to choose the word boat. So what will happen first is the string will be split into an array of characters using the split command. And as you can see, the result of that is an array containing individual characters of the word boat. After we've done this, we will need to then reverse the array. So as you can see here, the word boat but spelt backwards as an array. And then once we've done that, we will need to then combine these individual characters back to a string. So we achieve that by running the join function, join method. And as you can see here, that results in the word TAOB, which is the word boat backwards. And then finally, we check to see if the original value, so the word boat, is equal to the manipulated string, so the string backwards, TAOB. And obviously these aren't equal, so that will result in a false value being returned. So if you want to follow along, there's all of this code that will be available and the instructions on GitHub. And you can follow along here, and there's some instructions to get set up. Before we get started, you will need to have Deno installed, which is a JavaScript TypeScript runtime environment written in Rust. It's an alternative to Node.js. The reason why I'm using Deno today is because it doesn't require any config values. You just run it. There's no setup required, obviously apart from installing. And I'll come back to the further learning later in the video. So we've already got our README, which explains what it is we're doing today and obviously how we're going to achieve it. So what we want to do first is bring up a new terminal. And we want to cd into the TypeScript folder. And then we want to cd again into the palindrome folder. So let's create our new file. So we want to do touch palindrome.ts. And that's created our new file. So as mentioned before, we need to first split the string. So we want to create a new function. We're going to call it split the string. And this is going to take an argument which we're going to call value, which is going to be of type string. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And it's going to return the value, and we're going to split that. And we're going to split it by an empty string. and this is going to return a string array. So now if we do const split string equals split the string, and we're going to use the word boat. And then if we just log that out, and then if we do deno run palin, you can see we get the value BAOT as an array. So now that we've split the string, we need to reverse that array. So we're going to go const reverse the string, and this is going to take another value, but this time it's going to be a string array type, and we're going to return value dot reverse. And as we know, we're going to return a string array here because we're simply just reversing the order of the array. So now if we say const reversed string is equal to reverse the string, and we're going to give it the split string here, and then if we just log out the reversed string, technically array, we run that same function again, you can see we get the word boat in the reverse order as an array. So now that we've done that, we need to then join this value so that we can make a string again. So we want to say const join the string, and that again is going to take a value which is going to be of a string array type, and we're going to return value dot join, and we're going to join it by an empty string, so that will essentially say TAOB, and that is going to return a string. And if we now say const joined string is equal to join the string, and we're going to take the reversed string here, and then if we now log that out, we'll now see, as expected, we get the string back TAOB, which is the word boat backwards. Perfect. So we have essentially written a reverse string function, or set of functions that reverses a string. And now what we want to do is we want to combine, well, we can do that. So once we've done that, the whole idea of the palindrome is to check if the reversed value is the same as the original value. So let's get rid of this console log here, and we want to say if joined string, so the result here, is equal to the word boat, then we want to say console.log true, which means it is a palindrome, and else console.log false. So that is essentially all we would need to create the palindrome. So if we run this again, you'll see that we get the word false, which is correct because obviously boat is not a palindrome. But if we change the word to say dad, save that and run it again, we should get the result of true, which is correct. So we know that our code's working as expected. But obviously this is 20 lines of code. We can make this into one function. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say const is palindrome, and that's going to take a value which which is going to be of type string, and that is going to return a Boolean because we want to return true or false. So what we can do here is we can copy and paste this over here, but instead of taking the word dad, we want to take the value that's passed into that array, and then if we can get rid of this code here. So what we're doing now is moving all of this code inside this function called isPalindrome, and then we want to work out whether or not the joined string is the same as the original value. So we want to say const result is equal to joined string equal value. And for those of you that don't know what this is just shorthand for like if a joined string is equal to the value, then it will return true. If it's not, then it will return false. So once we've got that, we can then return result. And as you can see here, if we say const answer is equal to isPalindrome, and we want to say the word dad, and then let's log out that answer. So we should expect the result of true, which we do. Great. So we've essentially written an isPalindrome function. However, do we really need to write 19 lines of code in order to achieve this? No. I've simply written it this way so that you can understand what's going on. So instead of doing it as individual functions like we have done here, what we can do is we can create one function that does it all by itself. So we're going to call a new function called isPalindrome simple. And that is going to take, again, a value, which is a string. And we know that we want to return a Boolean from the previous function. And what we can do here now is return value dot split, and we want to again split by a single an empty string, and then we want to reverse that string, and then we want to join it back up again. So this is, if we leave it like this will just return what we had before as the join string, but we obviously want to see whether it is equal to the original value. So what we can do here is just add equals value, and then we can say const simple answer is equal to isPalindrome simple, and we'll use the same answer, same value, and we want to now log this out. So we should get 2 trues. This is great. So if we change this to something that is false, let's say the word cheese, and we run that again, you can see we get false. So essentially what we've learnt today is how to write code in order to check whether a string is a palindrome or not. And obviously it's been split out into various separate functions in order to explain what's going on. And if I just refer back to the README, and let's bring that over here. So, as you can see, what we did is we created the array of characters. We then reversed it, and then we turned that back into a string. And then finally we checked to see whether or not boat is equal to the word TAOB, which of course it's not. So that is all you need to know in order to write an isPalindrome function in TypeScript. And if we go back to the README for further learning, I mean, obviously now that you know how to do this, why not try editing the code, change a few things, and choose different options, try a different word to see whether or not it's a palindrome or not. And as bonus points, you can see maybe what's the longest word that you can find or sentence that is a palindrome. Maybe leave that in the comments below and tell me what the longest palindrome you can find. And for an extra bonus point, maybe try and rewrite the functions that instead of taking a string, takes a number. Because obviously with a string, we can do the split, we can do the reverse, but obviously with a number it's a little bit more complicated. So that's something that I might potentially cover in a future video, but if you want to maybe try and learn something yourself, go away and read through this code and try and implement that isPalindrome for a number type instead of a string. And obviously there's all of this information will be in GitHub, and there's a link to obviously this YouTube video that you're watching, and obviously a link to the GitHub repository. And I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, comment and subscribe. And with that, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.